Hi everybody, my name is Jen Anderson. I'm a pelvic health physical therapist from Denver, Colorado. And today I just wanted to talk a little bit about some tips and tricks you could use if you're experiencing tailbone pain. I have a very dear friend that just had her first baby and had tailbone pain or coccyx pain during her pregnancy, and it's lasting into the postpartum period and it's not fun. So I was gonna make this video for her, and so I thought I'd share it with all of you as well. So when we have tailbone pain, what potentially is going on? So your tailbone or your coccyx sits right here at the base of your sacrum. So just to kind of give you an idea, here's my pelvic model. I have my pubic symphysis in the front. And then if I follow around here, my hip bones on the side. In the back, we have this triangle-shaped sacrum, and at the very tip, that's our coccyx. You have coccygeus muscles that come right off the side of that coccyx. And when these pelvic floor muscles or coccyx muscles or coccygeus muscles are really tight, it can pull on that tailbone and cause a lot of pain. So the idea is, if you think of like a puppy that has done something naughty and its tail is tucked, that is kind of what happens with these pelvic floor muscles. They get tight and kind of pull that tailbone underneath you. Now, there are certain things that you might be doing that are kind of promoting that. So, for example, if you just had a baby and you're breastfeeding and maybe you're sitting to breastfeed, your posture when you're doing that could be having an effect on that tailbone. So if my pelvic floor muscles here are tight and I have this tendency to kind of be standing in a tuck, we want to try to get a little bit of gentle extension and find a neutral pelvic alignment. So you want to try to do that in standing as well as sitting. So if I'm standing here, my rib cage is stacked over my pelvis. I have a little bit of extension through my lumbar spine. Sometimes when we get tired, we're like holding a baby here, and we get tired, that might be another tendency to kind of like tuck that bum under. So as much as you can, try to stand up nice and tall and stay engaged through your core. When we're sitting to breastfeed, same thing. Like, so if you're sitting on the couch and you're kind of slouched like this, you're going to be sitting back more on that tailbone, and that's going to be causing more pain and discomfort. So if you can get like a little pillow behind you to support you in some of that up and down posture where you have more of your weight over your sit bones versus your tailbone, that will help. And then having the pillow behind there, you're going to fatigue sitting in a more upright position. And then bring the baby to you. So if you're sitting and breastfeeding, put pillows underneath your arms so that you're not leaning down like this, which is again gonna promote that pelvic tuck under. Bring the baby up to you with pillows so you can maintain more of that upright posture when you're breastfeeding. Or whenever you're able, give that tailbone a complete break and try to breastfeed and sideline if you can. So sitting posture, standing posture, really big things. These pelvic floor muscles, like I was saying, can get tight. And I feel like there's a lot of emphasis on doing Kegels and strengthening these muscles. That's really important. But we also want to lengthen these muscles as well. And so one way that you can really work on that is practice diaphragmatic breathing. So if I'm going to practice diaphragmatic breathing, I want my rib cage stacked over my pelvis, again, that neutral pelvic alignment. And what you want to think about is during your inhale, I want you to get some nice lateral rib expansion. Imagine this lower rib cage is like an umbrella and you want to open it all the way around. So even like sometimes I'll tell people like, think about like breathing into your back. So just to kind of give you an example, inhale, exhale, inhale, Exhale. So you can put your hands on your lateral ribs to feel that lateral rib expansion. And then think about, you can even put a hand on the front and on the back and think about breathing into your back, opening that rib cage all the way around, 360 breath. Now, what I want you to try to do, so when I take that inhale, my diaphragm that sits right at the bottom of my rib cage should contract, and it actually pulls down to pull air into my lungs. So inhale, diaphragm contracts, pulls down. As that happens, all of the contents of my abdomen move down, my pelvic floor should lengthen. So inhale, pelvic floor lengthens. So what I want you to feel, imagine that this whole area is like a balloon. You're opening up that rib cage and you should feel that pelvic floor drop and open. These sit bones back here should gently widen as you take that inhale. So imagine taking that inhale, these sit bones here are widening. My tailbone is coming untucked and floating up towards the ceiling. Sometimes that's hard to feel if the pelvic floor is really tight. So there's different ways, different positions you can get in to help facilitate that. One I really like, if you can get into like a deep squat or like malasana pose that we use in yoga. If you need some support, you could use a chair. You could have a yoga block underneath you, but this is a really nice place to take some inhales and feel that opening and expansion through the pelvic floor. So again, imagining that as I take that inhale, here are my two sit bones. Those sit bones are gliding away from each other. My tailbone is floating up towards the ceiling. So kind of giving you that side profile. Okay, so I would say practice that pelvic floor opening. Deep squat's a great place to do it. Child's pose is a great place to do it. So getting those knees nice and wide, sitting back onto those heels. You can let your forehead rest on the floor and then just taking some nice inhales. Imagine you're sending that breath down your spine into that pelvic floor musculature, creating space. So those are two really good places good ways I like to practice that pelvic floor lengthening. Lengthening and strengthening, both important, right? We need to do them in balance. Now, another thing that can be helpful is sometimes our hip flexors get really tight, and that can kind of promote that tucked under bottom as well. So doing some nice hip flexor stretches. So one leg in front, one leg in back. I think one nuance with this is like people will shift forward and they're like, oh yeah, I feel that in the front of my hip. But you'll get even more out of this stretch if you kind of think about tucking that pubic bone up towards your nose, like you're a cowboy, and then shifting forward. Think about squeezing your bum and pushing that hip bone forward, and you'll get a little bit more stretch. Let me switch sides so you can really see what's happening. So I'm tucking, shifting forward. Now I feel a lot more stretch through the front of that hip. You can get in here with a ball and massage. So if I'm gonna try to get in here with a ball, so here's my hip bone, here's my belly button. If I kind of draw a line between those two, if I get a ball right in here, and you can use a tennis ball, you can use a lacrosse ball, and just kind of shift side to side over the ball. So I lay on my stomach. I don't have a ball with me right now, but I get the ball right in that location and then just shift my weight over it. You can practice bending the knee. You can move that leg in and out. It should feel like an achy sensation once you're on that hip flexor psoas muscle to try to get it to relax. So try that. Another one that can be really helpful is happy baby. So laying on your back, and this will get the adductors, these muscles inside here, to relax too. So just laying on your back, you can either take hands to the knees and practice those deep breaths here. If you have a little bit more flexibility, you can take your hands to the outsides of the feet and then use your biceps to pull those knees down towards the floor. And that can be a nice opening too. Again, here you'd be imagining that that tailbone is gonna drop towards the floor because you're gonna give it opening. Now, you can also do some self-massage techniques to that coccygeus. So, okay, so we talked about so there's that coccygeus muscle, or the coccyx, and then the coccygeus comes right off the side. So literally, now you'd probably wanna put your hands down your pants to do this, to get more contact, but find that tip of that tailbone, and you can literally come right off to the side and put your fingers right in there and just do a little bit of massage right there. Be gentle. I mean, it's probably really tender. And I would check both sides, even if it feels more tight on one side. I think it's good to do both sides. One other trick I like, gives you a little stretch. So you can actually grab that butt cheek, pull it out to the side, and then let's say you're gonna go sit in a chair, so you grab it and sit. And grab that cheek, pull it away from that tailbone, and sit. So you're just giving yourself like a little bit of a myofascial stretch when you do that. Try those things. If you guys have questions, please leave them in the comments below. If you want to get in touch with me, you can find me at andersonptwellness.com. Thanks. Have a great weekend. Bye.